I stood at my kitchen window watching the rain tap against the glass when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Raphael, my eldest son, and I felt that familiar flutter of hope in my chest. Had been 3 weeks since we last spoke. "Hello, Mom." His voice carried that particular warmth he used when he needed something. "I have the most wonderful news. What if we planned a family reunion vacation for spring break? All of us together like we used to do when Dad was alive." My heart skipped several beats. Family vacation. Together. All of us. I had been dreaming of something like this for the 4 years since my husband passed away. 4 years of quiet dinners alone, 4 years of watching other families at the grocery store, 4 years of birthday parties where I felt more like hired help than a beloved grandmother. That sounds absolutely wonderful, dear. Where were you thinking? I found this amazing resort in Florida, Mom. Ocean view suites, pools, restaurants, activities for the kids. It would be perfect. 7 days of pure family time. He paused and I could hear the excitement building in his voice. The only thing is, they require the reservation to be made by one person. Could you handle the booking? We will all pay you back once we get there. Course, sweetheart. You know I would do anything for this family. After hanging up, I sat in my favorite armchair and let the tears of joy flow freely. Finally, my children wanted me around. Finally, I would be included in their lives again instead of being the afterthought who got invited to dinner just to clean up afterward. That afternoon I called Oceanside Paradise Resort. The representative had a cheerful voice that matched my mood perfectly. "Good afternoon, Oceanside Paradise, this is Sarah speaking. Hello, I would like to make a reservation for 12 people, please." "Wonderful. What dates were you considering?" "March 15th through March 22nd. 7 nights. I heard typing in the background. "Perfect. We have availability for 4 family suites with ocean views. The rate would be $4,800 total for the week. All meals and activities included." My stomach dropped. $4,800. My monthly pension was $750. I had been saving money from my part-time job at the local bakery, but I only had $1,200 in my emergency fund. "Ma'am, are you still there?" "Yes, I am sorry. What deposit do you require?" "We need 50% to confirm the booking." "That would be $2,400. I hung up the phone with shaking hands. Where was I going to get $2,400? I looked around my small living room, at the photos of my children and grandchildren covering every surface, at the furniture my husband and I had bought piece by piece over 40 years of marriage. My eyes fell on my jewelry box sitting on the dresser. Inside was my most precious possession, the diamond engagement ring my husband had given me when we were both young and full of dreams. The ring that had witnessed every important moment of our life together. The next morning, I dressed in my best outfit and drove to downtown Jewelry District. Miller & Sons had been in business for 60 years, and I hoped they would give me a fair price. Mr. Miller examined my ring under his jeweler's loupe, turning it slowly in the light. "This is a beautiful piece, Mrs. Carter. Excellent clarity, classic setting. I can offer you $1,800. My heart sank. It was not enough for the deposit, but combined with my savings I could make it work. The remaining $600 I would have to put on my credit card and pray I could pay it off somehow. "I accept your offer." Walking out of that jewelry store without my wedding ring felt like losing my husband all over again. But I kept thinking about Raphael's excitement, about my grandchildren's faces when they saw the ocean, about finally being a real part of my family again. That evening I called the resort back and made the reservation. 4 suites, 7 nights, all inclusive. Total cost $4,800, charged to my credit card that now carried a balance I had no idea how to pay. Over the next few weeks, every conversation with my children filled me with more anticipation. Diego called to ask about the pool facilities for the kids. Monica wanted to know about the spa services. Anna inquired about the restaurants. Everyone seemed so excited, so grateful that I had arranged everything. I started working extra hours at the bakery, taking on weekend shifts, accepting every catering job they offered. Mrs. Henderson next door hired me to clean her house twice a week. I sold my grandmother's china set at a consignment shop. Every dollar went toward paying down that credit card balance. I ate soup and crackers for dinner most nights to save money. I walked everywhere instead of driving to save on gas. I turned the heat down so low I wore sweaters indoors. All for this one perfect week with my family. 3 days before the trip, I made the final payment. My credit card was maxed out, my savings account was empty, but the vacation was fully paid for. I had spent everything I had to give my family this gift. The night before we left, I packed my suitcase with more care than I had ever packed anything. I folded my best dresses, the pearl necklace my mother had left me, my comfortable walking shoes for long beach walks with the grandchildren. I imagined the photos we would take, the memories we would make, the stories I would have to tell for years to come. Raphael picked me up at 6 in the morning. I had been awake since 4, too excited to sleep. When I climbed into the car, I found Monica in the front passenger seat scrolling through her phone. The twins, 8-year-old Marcus and 10-year-old Sarah, were in the back seats with tablets and headphones. Good morning, everyone. Are you ready for the most amazing week ever? Marcus looked up from his tablet long enough to say good morning. Sarah waved without removing her headphones. Monica mumbled something that might have been a greeting without looking up from her phone. During the 3-hour drive, I tried repeatedly to start conversations about the trip. I asked about activities they wanted to try, restaurants they wanted to visit, whether the kids were excited about seeing dolphins. The responses were short, distracted, barely polite. Monica spent the entire drive texting and laughing at something on her phone screen. Is it something funny? I asked, hoping to be included in whatever was entertaining her. Just group chat with friends. Nothing you would understand. I spent the rest of the drive staring out the window, telling myself that once we arrived and settled in, everything would be different. They were probably just tired from the early start. When we pulled into the resort parking lot, my breath caught in my throat. The pictures online had not captured the true beauty of this place. Towering palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze. The main building was painted pristine white with blue trim that matched the sky. Gardens full of tropical flowers created a rainbow of colors leading to the entrance. Oh my goodness, I gasped. This is even more beautiful than I imagined. The kids finally looked up from their devices, their eyes wide with excitement as they spotted the massive pool complex visible through the lobby windows. Can we go swimming right now? Marcus asked, suddenly animated. After we check in and get settled, sweetheart, I replied, delighted to finally see some enthusiasm. The second car arrived with Diego, Anna, and their 3 children. 15-year-old David immediately started taking selfies. 12-year-old Emma ran straight toward the pool area. 6-year-old Lucas clung to his mother's hand, overwhelmed by all the activity. Only Emma came over to hug me properly. Grandma, this place is incredible. Did you see they have mini golf and a game room and 3 different restaurants? I know, honey. We are going to have the most wonderful time together. At the front desk, I presented my identification and credit card to the smiling receptionist. Welcome to Oceanside Paradise, Mrs. Carter. We have your reservation for 4 Ocean View suites. Everything has been taken care of. Here are your room keys and welcome packets with information about all our amenities. While she explained the meal times, pool hours, and activity schedules, I heard my sons talking quietly behind me. For suites, Diego whispered to Raphael. I thought you said it would be cheaper than this. Mom handled all the arrangements, Raphael replied. We can sort out the money later. The receptionist handed me 4 key card envelopes. Your suites are all on the 5th floor with connecting balconies and gorgeous ocean views. Is there anything else I can help you with today? This is perfect, thank you so much. But when I turned around to distribute the keys to my family, I found myself facing empty space. They had all disappeared toward the elevators without waiting for me. Only Emma stood there looking embarrassed. Where did everyone go? They said they wanted to get changed for the pool right away. Dad said to tell you they would meet you later. My heart sank a little, but I forced myself to stay positive. They were excited to enjoy the resort. That was natural. We would all be together for dinner. Emma and I rode the elevator up to the 5th floor. The hallway was elegantly decorated with local artwork, and the ocean breeze flowed through open windows at each end. I found my room, 507, and slipped the keycard into the lock. The suite was everything I had hoped for and more. A king-size bed with crisp white linens faced floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sparkling blue ocean. The bathroom had a deep soaking tub and separate shower. A small sitting area had a comfortable chair positioned perfectly for watching sunsets over the water. "This is beautiful, Grandma," Emma said, bouncing on the bed. "Are you happy?" "I am very happy, sweetheart. This is exactly what I dreamed it would be." After Emma left to find her parents, I unpacked my suitcase carefully, hanging my dresses in the spacious closet and arranging my toiletries in the marble bathroom. I put on my new sundress, the blue one I had bought specifically for this trip, and went to find my family. I discovered them at the main pool complex. Rafael and Diego were in the pool with some of the grandchildren. Monica and Anna were lounging in chairs under umbrellas with colorful drinks in their hands. Everyone looked relaxed and happy. "This is wonderful," I said, approaching Monica and Anna. "Mind if I join you?" Monica glanced up from her phone for about 2 seconds. "There are chairs by the snack bar if you want to sit." I looked around and saw the area she meant. It was across the pool deck, far from where the family had settled, with no umbrellas and no view of the pool activities. "Oh, I thought I might sit here with you so we can chat." "We are having girl time," Anna said without looking up from her magazine. "You understand." I understood perfectly. I was not included in their girl time, just like I was not included in much of anything else. I spent the afternoon reading a book in a chair by the snack bar, watching my family enjoy themselves in the distance. Every so often one of the grandchildren would wave at me, and I would wave back enthusiastically. But nobody invited me to join any activities or conversations. At dinner time, we all met at the resort's main restaurant. I had looked forward to this moment all day, imagining us sitting around a big table sharing stories and laughter like we used to do when the children were small. The hostess seated us at a large round table with a perfect view of the ocean. I chose a chair where I could see everyone and started looking at the menu excitedly. "Everything looks delicious. What is everyone thinking about ordering?" For the next few minutes, there was actual family conversation. The kids talked about the pool and the game room they had discovered. Diego mentioned wanting to try the golf course. Anna was excited about the spa treatments. But as the evening progressed, I noticed something troubling. Conversations happened around me rather than including me. When I tried to share memories of family vacations when the kids were young, the responses were polite but brief. When I suggested activities we could do together the next day, everyone seemed to have already made other plans. "Tomorrow morning Rafael and I are playing golf," Diego announced. "The kids want to try the water sports," Monica added. "I signed up for a massage at the spa," Anna said. "What about the rest of us?" "Yes. Are there any activities we can all do together?" There was an awkward silence. "Well, you could come watch us play golf," Rafael offered without much enthusiasm. "Or you could relax by the pool," Anna suggested. "You have been working so hard to organize this trip. You deserve to rest." Rest. The word they used when they wanted me to disappear without being rude about it. That night, I lay in my comfortable bed listening to the waves crash against the shore outside my window. This was not how I had imagined our first day. Where were the family activities, the long conversations, the bonding time I had sacrificed so much to create? But tomorrow would be different, I told myself. Once everyone settled into the vacation rhythm, we would find our family connection again. I had no idea how wrong I was. The next morning, I woke up early and went down to breakfast hoping to catch some family members before they scattered to their individual activities. I found Emma sitting alone at a table, looking at her phone. "Good morning, sweetheart. Where is everyone?" Mom and Dad went to their spa appointments. Uncle Rafael and Uncle Diego left for golf. The twins are still sleeping. "Just you and me for breakfast then." I sat down across from her with my coffee and pastry. For a few minutes, we had a lovely conversation. Emma told me about a boy at school she liked, about her plans to try out for the soccer team, about a book she was reading. This was exactly what I had hoped for, real connection with one of my grandchildren. Then her phone buzzed with a text message. She looked at it and her expression changed. What is it, honey? Nothing important. Just mom checking on me. But I could see something was bothering her. Her cheerful demeanor had shifted to something more guarded. Emma, is everything all right? She looked at her phone again, then at me, then back at her phone. She seemed to be struggling with something. Grandma, can I ask you something? Course, sweetheart. You can ask me anything. She took a deep breath. Are you paying for this whole trip by yourself? The question caught me completely off guard. Why would you ask that, honey? 'Cause I heard Dad and Mom talking last night. They said something about you covering everything and then paying you back later. But then Dad laughed and said something about how you would probably forget to ask for the money anyway. My stomach started to twist into knots. What else did you hear them say? Emma looked uncomfortable. I probably should not have been listening. They did not know I was there. It is okay, sweetheart. What did they say? They were talking about how this was perfect because they got a fancy vacation without having to save up for it. And Mom said something about how you always volunteer to pay for things because you want to feel important. Each word felt like a small knife being inserted into my chest. They said other stuff too, but I do not want to repeat it. What kind of other stuff? Emma bit her lower lip. They said you get too involved in everything and that this vacation would be perfect if you just stayed out of the way and let everyone have fun without worrying about including you in everything. The conversation was happening around me, but I felt like I was underwater, hearing everything through a thick, distorting barrier. Emma, show me your phone. What? Your phone? Show me the text your mother sent you. Grandma, I do not think that is a good idea. Emma, please. With obvious reluctance, she handed me her phone. The text from Anna was brief but clear. Make sure you do not spend too much time with Grandma today. We talked about this. Family time means different things to different people. I stared at the message, reading it several times to make sure I understood correctly. My daughter-in-law had instructed my granddaughter to avoid spending time with me during our family vacation. The family vacation I had paid for in full. The family vacation I had sold my wedding ring to afford. The family vacation I had worked extra jobs and sacrificed meals to make possible. Emma was watching my face carefully. Grandma, are you okay? I handed her phone back to her and stood up from the table. I need to go back to my room for a few minutes, sweetheart. Enjoy your breakfast. I walked through the resort lobby in a daze. Other families were gathering for their day's activities, parents and grandparents and children all talking excitedly about their plans. I felt like a ghost moving through their happiness. In my room, I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to process what I had just learned. My family had not invited me on this vacation because they wanted to spend time with me. They had invited me because they wanted me to pay for their vacation while staying out of their way. I was not a beloved family member. I was a convenient source of funding. My phone buzzed with a text from Raphael. Hope you are having a relaxing morning, Mom. We will be back from golf around 2. Maybe we can all get together for dinner tonight. Maybe we can all get together. Maybe. For dinner. After they had spent the entire day avoiding me. I looked around the beautiful suite I had bankrupted myself to afford. The ocean view, the comfortable furniture, the fresh flowers on the table. All of it felt hollow now, like an expensive set for a play where I was the only person who did not know the script. But I was not going to sit in this room feeling sorry for myself. I was going to find out exactly what was going on. I took the elevator down to the lobby and approached the concierge desk. Excuse me, I need to use a computer to check my email. Do you have a business center? Course, ma'am. Right through those doors and to your left. The business center was small but well-equipped. I sat down at one of the computers and logged into my email account. I had an idea and I hoped I was wrong about it. I searched through my recent emails until I found the confirmation from the resort. I opened it and read through all the details again. The reservation was in my name only. The credit card charges were all to my card. There was no mention anywhere of shared expenses or multiple payment sources. Then I did something I had never done before. I created a fake social media account and searched for my children's profiles. I knew they all used Facebook and Instagram regularly, but I had never bothered to look at their posts. What I found made my blood run cold. On Diego's Facebook page from 3 days ago, Finally going on a real vacation thanks to Mom's generous offer to treat the whole family. Some people do not know how to say no, which works out great for the rest of us. On Monica's Instagram from yesterday. Off to paradise and did not have to pay a dime. When you marry into the right family, the benefits just keep coming. Anna had posted a photo of herself getting a pedicure with a caption, "Spa day courtesy of Grandma's guilt money. She really will pay for anything if you make her feel needed." But Raphael's post was the worst of all. It was a photo of him and Diego holding golf clubs with a caption, "Free vacation, free golf, free meals, and all we had to do was invite Mom along. She is so desperate to feel included that she will pay for anything. Easy money." I sat staring at the computer screen feeling like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it stopped working properly. These were not the posts of people who were grateful for a generous gift from a loving mother and grandmother. These were the posts of people who had deliberately manipulated and used me. The worst part was not even the money, though seeing my entire life savings and my wedding ring reduced to easy money made me feel physically sick. The worst part was the contempt. The casual cruelty of people who saw my love for them as a weakness to be exploited. I logged out of the computer and walked back toward the elevators. In the lobby, I passed the resort gift shop and stopped. In the window was a display of local newspapers. The headline on the business section caught my eye. "Local woman wins age discrimination lawsuit against former employer." I bought the newspaper and read the article carefully. It was about a woman in her 60s who had been forced out of her job and had successfully sued for age discrimination. At the bottom of the article was contact information for her lawyer. Back in my room, I called the law firm. "Patterson and Associates. This is Jennifer speaking." "Hello, I would like to speak with someone about potential elder financial abuse." "One moment, please." A few minutes later, a woman with a warm but professional voice came on the line. "This is Susan Patterson. How can I help you?" I told her the entire story. The vacation invitation, the payment arrangements, the family's real intentions, the social media posts I had discovered. She listened without interrupting, occasionally making sounds of sympathy or disapproval. "Mrs. Carter, what you are describing could potentially constitute elder financial abuse under state law. When family members use deception to obtain money or property from an elderly relative, it can be prosecuted as a crime." "Really?" "The fact that they deliberately misled you about the nature of the trip and made false promises about reimbursement could be grounds for fraud charges." "Do you have documentation of their promises to pay you back?" "I have text messages and recorded phone calls where they said they would reimburse me." "That is helpful. Do you have evidence of their real intentions?" "I have screenshots of their social media posts bragging about getting a free vacation from me." "Mrs. Carter, I think you should know that you have several legal options here. You could pursue criminal charges for elder abuse. You could file a civil lawsuit to recover your money. At minimum, you could demand immediate repayment with interest." I had not called the lawyer because I wanted to sue my children. I had called because I needed to understand my rights and options. But hearing her lay out the legal case made me realize just how badly my family had betrayed me. "What would you recommend?" "That depends on what you hope to accomplish. Do you want to restore the family relationship, or do you want to hold them accountable for their actions?" "I want them to understand that what they did was wrong. Sometimes people do not understand the seriousness of their actions until they face real consequences." After I hung up with the lawyer, I sat in my chair by the window and thought about my options. I could confront my family directly, but based on their social media posts, they would probably just laugh it off or make excuses. I could demand they pay me back immediately, but they would likely promise to do it someday and never follow through. Or I could take control of the situation in a way they would never expect. I picked up the phone and called the resort front desk. "Good afternoon, this is Mrs. Carter in room 507. I need to speak with the manager about making some changes to my reservation." "Course, ma'am. I will transfer you to Mr. Rodriguez right away." The manager had a pleasant voice and seemed genuinely concerned when I explained that I needed to modify my reservation due to a family emergency. "What kind of changes are you looking to make, Mrs. Carter?" "I would like to reduce my reservation from 4 suites to 1 suite. The other 3 suites should be cancelled immediately." May I ask what prompted this change? Let us just say that the family emergency has made it clear that I no longer need accommodations for 12 people. Mr. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Carter, I have to inform you that since your party has already checked in, there will be charges associated with canceling those rooms on such short notice. How much would the charges be? Since you are canceling 3 suites with less than 24 hours notice, the penalty would be 1 night's rate for each cancelled room. That comes to approximately $800. That is fine. Please proceed with the cancellation. I would also like to know what your policy is regarding guests who are no longer welcome in a reserved suite. If you are the person who made the reservation and provided payment, you have the authority to determine who has access to the rooms. Are there specific individuals you would like to restrict? I would like to restrict access for everyone except myself and my granddaughter Emma Phillips. I can certainly arrange that. The key cards for the cancelled suites will be deactivated immediately. Should I inform the affected guests about this change? Yes, but not until tomorrow morning. I want the key cards to stop working at exactly 9 a.m., and then you can send someone to inform them that their accommodations have been cancelled. Very well. Is there anything else I can help you with? Actually, yes. I would like to extend my stay by 3 additional days. Just for the 1 remaining suite. It would be my pleasure to arrange that for you, Mrs. Carter. After I finished with the hotel manager, I called Emma's cell phone. Hello, Grandma. Hi, sweetheart. Are you busy right now? Just hanging out by the pool with David and Marcus. Could you come up to my room? I have something important to discuss with you. Sure, I will be right there. Emma arrived at my door 10 minutes later, still in her bathing suit with a towel wrapped around her shoulders. What did you want to talk about? I told her everything. The real cost of the vacation, the fact that I had sold my wedding ring to afford it, the social media posts I had discovered, the conversation with the lawyer, and the changes I had made to the reservation. Emma listened with growing shock and anger. They really posted those things online. I showed her the screenshots I had taken. This is horrible, Grandma. I had no idea they were being so mean about you paying for the trip. Emma, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., your parents and aunt and uncles are going to discover that their key cards no longer work. Hotel security will inform them that their rooms have been cancelled and they need to leave the resort. What about you? I am staying for the full week, just as I planned. But now I am going to enjoy it the way I deserve to, without people who take my kindness for weakness. Can I stay with you? I was hoping you would want to. What about my parents? Emma, your parents made a choice to treat me badly. Now they have to live with the consequences of that choice. You did not make that choice, so you should not have to suffer because of it. But they're going to be so angry. Yes, they are. And they're going to try to make you feel guilty for staying with me instead of leaving with them. Are you prepared for that? Emma thought for a moment. Grandma, what they did to you was wrong. Really wrong. And I am not going to pretend it was okay just to keep peace in the family. That night at dinner, I watched my family with completely different eyes. I saw how they ordered the most expensive items on the menu without a second thought. I saw how they talked about extending their spa appointments and booking additional activities. I saw how they made plans for the next day that involved spending more of my money while continuing to exclude me from most activities. But I also saw something I had missed before. I saw the casual disrespect in how they spoke to me, the eye rolls when they thought I was not looking, the way they changed the subject whenever I tried to contribute to conversations. This was not a family that loved and appreciated me. This was a family that tolerated me when I was useful and ignored me the rest of the time. After dinner, as we walked back through the resort lobby, Raphael fell into step beside me. Mom, tomorrow Diego and I were thinking about renting a boat for deep-sea fishing. The kids are excited about it. That sounds nice. The thing is, it is pretty expensive. About $400 for the whole group. Could you cover that since you handled all the other trip expenses? I looked at my eldest son, this man I had raised from infancy, who had just spent the day playing golf while I sat alone by the pool, and who was now asking me to pay for yet another activity that I would not be invited to join. I will think about it. When I got back to my room, I found a note that had been slipped under my door. It was from the hotel manager confirming the changes to my reservation and informing me that security would handle the room cancellations at 9 a.m. sharp. I set my alarm for 8 a.m. I wanted to be awake and dressed when the chaos began. At exactly 9 a.m. the next morning, I was sitting on my balcony with a cup of coffee and a clear view of the pool area where my family had established their daily routine. I watched as Raphael tried to use his keycard to get back into his suite after his morning run. I saw the confusion on his face when the red light flashed instead of green. Within minutes, all 4 adults were standing in the hallway outside their rooms, trying their keycards repeatedly. I could see them talking animatedly, gesturing toward the doors, checking and double-checking their room numbers. My phone started ringing. It was Diego. "Mom, there is something wrong with our room keys. None of them are working." "How strange. Have you called the front desk?" "Raphael is down there right now. The kids cannot get into their rooms to change clothes or get their pool toys. I'm sure the hotel will sort it out." At 9:15, I watched a hotel security officer approach my family by the pool. Even from my 5th-floor balcony, I could see the shock and confusion on their faces as he delivered the news. I saw Monica throw her hands up in anger. I saw Anna grab Diego's arm. I saw Raphael storm toward the hotel entrance. My phone rang again. This time it was Monica. "Stella, what the hell is going on? The hotel says you canceled our rooms." "I did." "What do you mean you did? Why would you do that?" "Because I discovered that this is not actually a family vacation. This is a free vacation for ungrateful people who think I am stupid enough to pay for them to ignore me." There was silence on the other end of the line. "I do not know what you think you heard or saw, but you are overreacting." "Monica, I saw your Instagram post about spa day courtesy of Grandma's guilt money. I saw Raphael's Facebook post calling this easy money. I saw Diego's post about how some people do not know how to say no." Another silence, longer this time. "You were checking our social media." I was trying to understand why my family invited me on a vacation just to exclude me from everything. Now I understand perfectly. Look, maybe we said some things we should not have said, but canceling our rooms is crazy. Where are we supposed to stay? I honestly do not care, Monica. You wanted a vacation without me. Now you have one. What about the kids? You are going to make them suffer because you got your feelings hurt. My feelings did not get hurt, Monica. Got used. There is a difference. And the kids are welcome to stay with me if they want to. You cannot just steal our children. I am not stealing anyone. I am offering them a choice between staying with someone who loves them or leaving with people who taught them that using family members is acceptable behavior. Emma appeared at my door at that moment, with her suitcase packed. Grandma, I told my parents I am staying with you. I heard Monica yelling on the other end of the phone. You cannot do this, Estella. We are family. No, Monica. Family means people who care about each other. Family means people who include each other. Family means people who do not post cruel things about each other on social media for their friends to laugh at. This is not over. Yes, it is. Hung up the phone. For the next hour, various family members called and texted me. The messages ranged from angry to pleading to threatening. Raphael demanded I restore their rooms immediately. Diego tried to guilt me about the grandchildren. Anna accused me of financial abuse, which was ironic considering what I had learned about actual financial abuse from the lawyer. But the most telling response came from 6-year-old Lucas, who knocked on my door with tears in his eyes. Grandma, Daddy says we have to leave because you are being mean. But I do not want to leave. I like it here. I knelt down to his level. Lucas, your daddy made some bad choices, and now there are consequences for those choices. But you did not make any bad choices, so if you want to stay with Emma and me, you can. Really? Really? 2 hours later, I watched from my balcony as my sons and daughters-in-law loaded their suitcases into a taxi. Marcus and Sarah went with their parents, looking confused and upset but ultimately choosing to stay with the familiar. David chose to leave with his parents as well, probably not fully understanding the adult complexities of what had happened. But Lucas stayed with me. And Emma stayed with me. And for the first time since arriving at this resort, I felt like I was actually on a family vacation. That afternoon, Emma, Lucas, and I went to the beach together. We built sandcastles and collected shells and played in the waves. We had ice cream for lunch and spent an hour in the game room. We took silly photos and laughed at each other's jokes. It was everything I had imagined this vacation would be, just with a much smaller group than I had originally planned. That evening at dinner, Lucas asked the question I had been dreading. "Grandma, why did Mommy and Daddy have to leave?" I chose my words very carefully. "Sometimes adults make mistakes, sweetheart. Your Mommy and Daddy made some mistakes about how to treat people they love. When people make mistakes, there are consequences." "What kind of mistakes?" "They forgot that love means being kind and respectful to each other. They forgot that when someone does something nice for you, you should be grateful instead of making fun of them." "Are they going to say sorry?" "I do not know, Lucas. I hope so, but that is up to them." "Are you still going to be my grandma even if they do not say sorry?" "I will always be your grandma no matter what. Nothing could ever change that." The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. For the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I wanted to be, with people who actually wanted to be with me. Emma and I took Lucas to the kids' club while we had manicures at the spa. We spent the afternoon by the pool, actually swimming and playing games instead of me sitting alone while everyone else had fun. We ordered room service for dinner and ate on the balcony while watching the sunset. It was perfect. On our last night, as we were getting ready for bed, Emma asked me something that surprised me. "Grandma, are you going to forgive them?" I thought about the question for a long time. "Emma, I already have forgiven them." Forgiveness does not mean pretending that what they did was okay or allowing them to do it again. Forgiveness means letting go of the anger so it does not poison my own heart. But does forgiveness mean taking them back? That is a different question entirely, sweetheart. Trust has to be earned back. Respect has to be demonstrated. They would have to show me through their actions, not just their words, that they understand what they did wrong and that they are committed to changing. Do you think they will? I honestly do not know. People can change, but only if they want to. And change is hard work that takes time and commitment. Some people find it easier to blame others than to look at themselves honestly. The next morning, as we packed our belongings to head home, I felt a sense of closure I had not expected. This vacation had not turned out the way I planned, but it had given me something more valuable than I could have imagined. It had given me clarity about who I really was and what I deserved. I was not the desperate, pathetic woman my family had portrayed in their social media posts. I was a strong, generous person who had been taken advantage of by people who should have protected and cherished me. There was a big difference. Emma helped me load our suitcases into the taxi while Lucas ran around the lobby one last time, trying to memorize every detail of our magical week together. As we drove away from the resort, I looked back at the beautiful building where I had learned one of the most important lessons of my life. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones you love the most. And sometimes the only way to save yourself is to walk away, even when it breaks your heart to do it. The taxi driver caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "Good vacation, lady." "The best vacation of my life," I replied, and I meant it completely. When we arrived back in town, I faced the question of what to do about Lucas. His parents had left him with me in their anger, probably assuming I would bring him home and beg for forgiveness. But I was not going to use a child as a bargaining chip in an adult conflict. I called Diego from my house while Lucas played in the backyard with Emma. "Diego, we need to discuss arrangements for Lucas." "What arrangements?" "He is staying with you until you come to your senses and apologize for what you did." "I am not apologizing for standing up for myself, Diego. But Lucas is your son and he belongs with his family. You can pick him up anytime. We do not have anywhere to stay right now because of what you did to us." "Where are you staying?" "We found a cheap motel outside of town. The kids have to sleep on the floor because there are not enough beds." I felt a pang of sympathy for my grandchildren, but I reminded myself that this situation was not of my making. "Diego, you and Anna are adults with jobs and credit cards. You can figure out your housing situation. Lucas can stay with me until you have appropriate accommodations for him, but I am not going to pretend that what happened at the resort did not happen. Mom called you 4 times yesterday. You did not answer." "I saw her calls. I also saw her voicemail where she called me selfish and vindictive." I am not interested in being yelled at or blamed for consequences that your actions created. So what happens now? We just do not talk anymore. That is up to you, Diego. I am willing to have a relationship with you and your brother, but it has to be a relationship based on mutual respect. The days of me being your personal ATM while you mock me behind my back are over. We were not mocking you. Diego, I have screenshots of the social media posts. Do not lie to me on top of everything else. There was a long silence. What do you want from us? I want acknowledgement that what you did was wrong. I want genuine apologies, not explanations or excuses. I want to see changes in how you treat me, not just promises that things will be different. And I want time to decide whether I can trust you again. And if we do all that, then maybe we can rebuild our relationship. But it would be a different relationship than we had before, one where my feelings and dignity matter as much as yours. After I hung up with Diego, I sat in my kitchen looking at the familiar surroundings. This house where I had raised my children, where I had cooked thousands of meals and bandaged countless scraped knees and helped with homework every night for years. Had I made the right choice? Had I been too harsh? Was I destroying my family over hurt feelings and wounded pride? But then I thought about the social media posts. I thought about the years of being treated like hired help at family gatherings. I thought about selling my wedding ring to pay for a vacation where I was not wanted. I thought about Emma having to choose between her parents and her grandmother because the adults in her life could not behave with basic decency. No, I had not been too harsh. I had finally been strong enough to demand the respect I should have been given all along. 3 days later, Raphael showed up at my front door. He looked terrible, tired and stressed, and older than I had ever seen him. "Mom, we need to talk. Come in." He sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where I had helped him with homework when he was in elementary school. "First, I want to say that I am sorry. We were wrong, all of us. The way we talked about you, the way we treated you on the trip, the assumptions we made about money. All of it was wrong." I sat down across from him and waited for him to continue. I saw the screenshots Emma showed everyone. I am ashamed of what I posted on Facebook. I am ashamed that other people saw me talking about my mother that way. I deleted the post and I deactivated my account. That is a good start. Monica wants to apologize too, but she is scared you will not listen to her. Whether I listen depends on what she wants to say. If she wants to make excuses or blame me for overreacting, then no, I will not listen. If she wants to take responsibility for her actions and talk about how things need to change going forward, then yes, I will listen. She knows she messed up, Mom. We all do. Knowing and changing are two different things, Raphael. He nodded. You are right. And I understand why you do not trust us anymore. I understand why you canceled the rooms. I understand why you kept Emma and Lucas with you. Do you? Do you really understand? Think so. You felt used and disrespected, and you were right to feel that way because we did use you and disrespect you. I leaned back in my chair. Raphael, do you remember when you were 12 and you stole money from my purse to buy video games? He looked confused by the change of subject. Vaguely. Do you remember what I did when I found out? You made me return the games and do extra chores to pay back the money. And what did I tell you about stealing from family? That family members are supposed to take care of each other, not take advantage of each other. Exactly. What you and your brother and wives did to me was stealing, Raphael. You stole my money through deception. You stole my time by making me plan a vacation where I was not welcome. You stole my dignity by mocking me to your friends online. His eyes filled with tears. No. I know we did, and I hate myself for it. But hating yourself does not fix anything. The question is, what are you going to do differently going forward? Whatever you want, Mom. Whatever it takes to make this right. I shook my head. That is not how this works. I am not going to give you a list of demands like you are a child being punished. You are a grown man who needs to figure out how to treat people with respect and kindness. If you need me to explain that to you, then you have not learned anything from this experience. Raphael was quiet for several minutes, thinking. You are right. I need to figure out how to be a better son, not wait for you to tell me how. That is exactly right. Can I ask you something? Course. Are you going to change your will? Diego is worried that you are going to cut us out financially because of this. I looked at my eldest son, this man I had loved and sacrificed for his entire life, and realized he still did not understand what this was really about. Raphael, the fact that your first concern is about money proves that you have not learned anything at all. This was never about punishing you financially. This was about being treated with basic human dignity by the people I love most in the world. I'm sorry, I did not mean it that way. Yes, you did. And the fact that you are still thinking about money instead of relationships tells me that we have a lot more work to do. Over the next several weeks, each of my family members reached out to me individually. Some of the conversations went better than others. Anna came by with a genuine apology and a willingness to admit that her behavior had been cruel and selfish. She also brought Lucas home and thanked me for taking care of him when she and Diego had been too angry and proud to do the right thing. Diego took longer to come around. His first attempt at an apology was more about his wounded pride than any real understanding of what he had done wrong. But after Emma refused to speak to him for 2 weeks, he came back with a different attitude and a real commitment to change. Monica never apologized. She sent Emma with messages about how I had overreacted and how everyone made mistakes and how holding grudges was unhealthy for the whole family. She seemed to believe that enough time would pass and things would go back to the way they had always been. But things were never going back to the way they had always been. I had learned too much about myself and about my worth to settle for being taken for granted again. 6 months after the vacation, I organized another family gathering. But this time it was different. This time, everyone contributed equally to the cost. This time, activities were planned that included everyone. This time, I was treated as an honored guest instead of unpaid help. Emma, now a high school senior, had grown closer to me through our shared experience. She often came by after school to tell me about her day and ask for advice about college applications. Our relationship had deepened from the typical grandmother-granddaughter dynamic to something more like friendship. Lucas had also remained close to me, though his parents had learned to appreciate rather than take for granted my relationship with their son. They no longer assumed I would provide free babysitting or financial support, and they made sure to include me in family decisions that affected the grandchildren. The biggest change was in how I saw myself. I was no longer the woman who said yes to everything because she was afraid of being left out. I was no longer the woman who apologized for having needs and opinions. I was no longer the woman who measured her worth by how much she could give to others. I was a woman who knew her value and insisted that others recognize it too. 1 year after the resort incident, I received a letter from Oceanside Paradise Resort. They were inviting me back as their guest to celebrate their anniversary and to recognize customers who had shown exceptional grace under difficult circumstances. Apparently, the hotel manager had been so impressed with how I handled my family situation that he had written about it in a customer service training manual. My story was being used to teach staff how to support guests who find themselves in difficult family dynamics during their stays. I accepted their invitation and returned to the resort, this time with Emma as my guest for her 18th birthday celebration. We stayed in the same suite where I had made the decision that changed my life. On our last night, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset over the ocean, Emma asked me if I ever regretted what I had done. I looked out at the waves, remembering how I had felt that morning a year ago when I canceled my family's rooms. I had been scared and angry and heartbroken all at the same time. But I had also been more determined than I had ever been in my life to stop letting people mistreat me. No, I told Emma. I regret that it took me so long to stand up for myself. I regret that I taught my children that they could take advantage of me without consequences. But I do not regret finally demanding the respect I deserved. What about the money you lost? Emma, I spent my whole life savings on that vacation, and it was the best money I ever spent. Not because of the resort or the food or the activities, but because it taught me who I really was when I stopped trying to buy love and approval. So you would do it again. I hope I would have the courage to do it again if I ever needed to. But more importantly, I hope I never have to, because I will never again allow people to treat me as less than I am worth. The next morning, as we packed to leave, I found a note that had been slipped under my door. It was from a woman staying at the resort with her own extended family. Dear Mrs. Carter, she had written. I could not help but overhear some of the conversations about what happened here last year. I just wanted you to know that you are an inspiration. I have been letting my family take advantage of me for years, and seeing how you stood up for yourself has given me the courage to start making changes in my own life. Thank you for showing me that it is never too late to demand better treatment from the people we love. I folded the note carefully and put it in my purse. I had not set out to be an inspiration to anyone. I had simply reached the point where I could not tolerate being disrespected anymore. But if my story could help other people find their own courage to demand better treatment, then perhaps some good had come from all the pain. As our plane took off carrying us back home, I thought about the journey I had taken over the past year. Not just the physical journey to a resort in Florida, but the emotional journey from being a woman who gave everything and expected nothing in return to being a woman who understood her own worth. I had lost some relationships along the way. Monica and I might never be close again. There would always be some tension at family gatherings, some memories that could not be erased. But I had gained something more valuable than I had lost. I had gained self-respect. I had gained boundaries. I had gained the knowledge that love should never require you to diminish yourself to make others comfortable. Most importantly, I had gained the understanding that being alone was not the worst thing that could happen to me. Being surrounded by people who did not value me was much worse than being alone. As I write this story now, 2 years later, I can say that most of my family relationships have healed, though they are different than they were before. My children and grandchildren treat me with more respect and consideration. They no longer assume I will pay for things without asking. They include me in planning family activities instead of expecting me to be grateful for whatever scraps of attention they offer. But more importantly, I have learned to value myself enough to walk away from any situation where I am not treated well, whether it involves family members or anyone else in my life. The woman who sold her wedding ring to pay for a vacation where she was not wanted is gone. In her place is a woman who knows that she deserves love, respect, and consideration from the people in her life. And if anyone ever forgets that lesson, I have a beautiful resort suite in Florida where I can go to remember exactly who I am and what I am worth. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones that teach us the most about ourselves. My family vacation cost me everything I had saved, but it gave me something priceless in return. The knowledge that I am valuable exactly as I am, and I never have to apologize for demanding to be treated that way. End. But my story does not truly end there. Because 3 years after that life-changing vacation, I received a phone call that would test everything I had learned about standing up for myself. It was a Tuesday morning in October when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I did not recognize, but something compelled me to answer. "Mrs. Carter, this is Dr. Williams from General Hospital. I'm calling about your son Raphael." My heart immediately began racing. Despite everything that had happened between us, he was still my child. "What happened? Is he okay?" "He was in a serious car accident this morning. He is stable, but he has multiple injuries and will need extensive surgery. He has been asking for you. I will be right there." As I drove to the hospital, my mind was flooded with memories. Raphael as a toddler, running to me when he scraped his knee. Raphael as a teenager, staying up all night when he had the flu while I made him soup and checked his temperature. Raphael as a young father, calling me for advice when his own children were sick. Whatever had happened between us, he was still the little boy I had rocked to sleep countless nights. At the hospital, I found Monica in the waiting room. Her face was streaked with tears and she looked smaller somehow, fragile in a way I had never seen before. "Stella," she said when she saw me. "Thank you for coming. How is he?" "They say the surgery will take several hours. His legs are badly broken, and there might be internal injuries they have not found yet." We sat together in uncomfortable silence for a while. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and fear. Other families clustered around, dealing with their own crises and emergencies. Finally, Monica spoke again. "I know we have not talked much since everything happened. I know I never properly apologized for my part in what we did to you. Monica, this is not the time for that conversation." "But it is," she said, turning to face me fully. Sitting here thinking about losing him, I realized how much time we have wasted being angry and stubborn. Life is too short to hold grudges forever. I looked at this woman who had been such a source of pain and frustration for me. She looked genuinely remorseful, but I had been fooled by apparent sincerity before. What exactly are you apologizing for? Everything. The way I talked about you online. The way I treated you during the vacation. The way I made Raphael choose sides instead of encouraging him to repair his relationship with his mother. The way I taught my children that it was acceptable to use people and then discard them when they became inconvenient. Those are a lot of serious things to apologize for. No. And I do not expect you to forgive me right away. But I want you to know that watching Raphael struggle with losing his relationship with you has been one of the hardest things I have ever witnessed. He loves you so much, and he has been miserable knowing that he hurt you so badly. Why did it take a car accident for you to tell me this? Because I was too proud and too ashamed to admit how wrong I had been. Because it was easier to blame you for overreacting than to take responsibility for my own cruel behavior. Because I was afraid that admitting I was wrong would make me look weak. Monica began crying again, harder this time. The truth is, Estella, you were like a second mother to me when Raphael and I got married. You welcomed me into your family without reservation. You helped us with the down payment on our first house. You babysat the kids whenever we needed you. You were always there for us, and we repaid your kindness by treating you like garbage. I felt my own eyes beginning to fill with tears. Monica, I appreciated you acknowledging all of that. But I need you to understand that what happened was not just about hurt feelings or family drama. What you all did to me was financial abuse. It was elder abuse. It was a betrayal of trust that went far beyond anything I could have imagined my own family would do to me. No. I know it was, and there is no excuse for any of it. Dr. Williams appeared in the waiting room doorway, still wearing surgical scrubs. Mrs. Carter. Mrs. Carter. Both Monica and I stood up. The surgery went well. We were able to repair the damage to his legs, and there were no internal injuries we could not handle. He is going to need extensive physical therapy, and he will be in the hospital for at least 2 weeks, but he should make a full recovery. The relief was overwhelming. I found myself hugging Monica, and for a moment, the last 3 years of hurt and anger faded into the background. Can we see him? He is still sedated from the surgery, but you can sit with him if you like. Raphael looked so young lying in that hospital bed, hooked up to machines and monitors. His face was bruised and swollen, but he was breathing on his own and the doctor said his vital signs were strong. I took his hand and felt him squeeze my fingers slightly. I'm here, son. You're going to be okay. Over the next 2 weeks, I spent most of my time at the hospital. Not because Monica or anyone else expected me to, but because that is what you do for people you love, even when they have hurt you. Diego and Anna came to visit regularly. They were genuinely grateful for my presence and support during such a frightening time. Anna had clearly done some soul-searching of her own, and she made a point of including me in all the medical discussions and decisions. The grandchildren were scared and confused about their father's condition, and they turned to me for comfort and reassurance in a way that reminded me why I had always loved being a grandmother so much. Emma, now in college, drove home immediately when she heard about the accident. She found me in Raphael's room on the second day, reading to him while he drifted in and out of consciousness. Grandma, you did not have to come. After everything that happened, no one would have blamed you for staying away. Emma, he is my son. No matter what has happened between us, that will never change. You have such a good heart. I hope I am as forgiving as you are when I am your age. This is not about forgiveness, honey. This is about love. Love does not disappear just because someone hurts you. It gets complicated and painful, but it does not disappear. When Raphael finally woke up fully on the 4th day, the first thing he saw was me sitting beside his bed. Mom. His voice was hoarse from the breathing tube. I'm right here. I thought I was dreaming. I was so afraid you would not come. Course I came. You are my son. He began crying, which was difficult to watch because the pain medication made it hard for him to control his emotions. Mom, I have been such a terrible son to you. I do not deserve to have you here taking care of me. Raphael, you made some very bad choices. You hurt me deeply, and you damaged our relationship in ways that took a long time to repair. But you are still my child, and I will always love you. Can you ever forgive me? Really forgive me? I already have forgiven you. But forgiveness does not erase consequences. We still have work to do to rebuild trust between us. I will do whatever it takes. Promise. During his recovery, Raphael and I had many long conversations. He was genuinely remorseful about what had happened, and he was committed to making real changes in how he treated me and others. He had used his time after the vacation incident to reflect on his behavior and to examine the attitudes he had developed toward family obligations and relationships. He realized that he had begun to see me as an endless resource rather than as a person with my own needs and feelings. The accident had given him a different perspective on what really mattered in life. Facing the possibility of death or permanent disability had made him realize how much time he had wasted on pride and stubbornness. Monica also made genuine efforts to repair our relationship. She deleted her social media accounts entirely, recognizing that they had become a platform for her to express negative thoughts and attitudes she should have kept to herself. She began including me in family decisions and social gatherings in a way that felt natural rather than obligatory. Most importantly, she began teaching her children to treat me with respect and appreciation instead of taking my generosity for granted. Diego and Anna had their own process of making amends. Diego wrote me a long letter acknowledging the specific ways he had mistreated me and outlining concrete changes he planned to make in his behavior. Anna began calling me regularly just to chat, not because she needed something from me but because she genuinely wanted to maintain a relationship. But the real test came 6 months after the accident, when Raphael was finally ready to return to work but was still struggling with mobility issues. The family began discussing the possibility of hiring someone to help him during the day while Monica was at work. In the past, everyone would have simply assumed that I would volunteer to provide free caregiving services. This time they actually asked me what I thought about the situation and whether I would be willing to help. I would be happy to help during Raphael's recovery, I told them. But I want to be clear about what I am and am not willing to do. Course, Mom. What do you need from us? I need you to hire a professional aide for the medical aspects of his care. I am not trained to handle physical therapy equipment or medication management. I can provide companionship and help with meals and light housework, but only on certain days and for specific hours. That sounds very reasonable. I also need you to arrange backup care for times when I am not available. I am not going to be on call 24 hours a day, and I am not going to cancel my own plans every time you need help. We would never expect that. And I need you to discuss compensation for my time and gas money for driving back and forth. Mom, you do not have to worry about money. We will take care of everything. This is exactly what I am talking about, Raphael. I am not volunteering to provide free services because I am family. I am offering to help for a reasonable fee because I love you and want to support your recovery. There is a difference. You are absolutely right. I am sorry I assumed otherwise. This conversation marked a fundamental shift in how my family approached their relationship with me. They began treating me as a person with my own life and priorities rather than as a resource that existed solely for their benefit. The caregiving arrangement worked well because everyone involved understood their roles and boundaries from the beginning. I enjoyed spending time with Raphael during his recovery, and I felt valued and respected for the help I provided. More importantly, the experience taught all of us how to have a healthy family relationship built on mutual respect rather than one-sided obligation. As Raphael regained his strength and independence, our relationship continued to improve. He made efforts to include me in his life in meaningful ways, not just when he needed something from me. He remembered my birthday and called just to check on me. He asked for my advice about parenting decisions and work situations. Most significantly, he began talking to his children about the importance of treating all family members with kindness and respect. He used his own mistakes as teaching moments, helping them understand that love should never be taken for granted. The accident and its aftermath became a turning point for our entire family. It forced everyone to confront the reality that life is fragile and unpredictable, and that the people we love will not always be available to us. It also demonstrated that people can change their behavior when they are truly motivated to do so. The key is that the motivation has to come from within, not from external pressure or guilt. Looking back now, I can see that both the vacation incident and the accident were necessary parts of my journey toward building healthier relationships with my family. The vacation taught me to stand up for myself and demand better treatment. The accident taught me that love can coexist with boundaries, and that forgiveness does not require you to forget the lessons you have learned. Today, 5 years after that fateful vacation, my relationships with my children and grandchildren are stronger than they have ever been. Not because we pretend the past did not happen, but because we learned from it and chose to do better. I still maintain the boundaries I established after the vacation. I still expect to be treated with respect and consideration. I still refuse to be taken for granted or used for my financial resources. The accident and its aftermath became a turning point for our entire family. It forced everyone to confront the reality that life is fragile and unpredictable, and that the people we love will not always be available to us. It also demonstrated that people can change their behavior when they are truly motivated to do so. The key is that the motivation has to come from within, not from external pressure or guilt. Looking back now, I can see that both the vacation incident and the accident were necessary parts of my journey toward building healthier relationships with my family. The vacation taught me to stand up for myself and demand better treatment. The accident taught me that love can coexist with boundaries, and that forgiveness does not require you to forget the lessons you have learned. Today, 5 years after that fateful vacation, my relationships with my children and grandchildren are stronger than they have ever been. Not because we pretend the past did not happen, but because we learned from it and chose to do better. I still maintain the boundaries I established after the vacation. I still expect to be treated with respect and consideration. I still refuse to be taken for granted or used for my financial resources. But I also continue to be a loving and supportive mother and grandmother within those boundaries. I attend family gatherings where I am genuinely welcomed. I provide help when it is asked for respectfully and when I am able to do so. I enjoy spending time with my grandchildren who have learned to appreciate rather than exploit my presence in their lives. The difference is that now our relationships are based on mutual respect and genuine affection rather than obligation and expectation. I learned that you can love someone deeply while still refusing to tolerate poor treatment from them. I learned that setting boundaries does not make you selfish or vindictive. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to stop enabling someone's bad behavior. Most importantly, I learned that I am valuable as a person, not just as a provider of services or resources. My thoughts and feelings matter. My time and energy deserve to be respected. My contributions to the family should be appreciated, not taken for granted. These lessons did not come easily or without cost. There were moments of loneliness and doubt when I wondered if I had made the right choices. There were times when I questioned whether standing up for myself was worth the temporary disruption to family harmony. But every time I was tempted to go back to my old patterns of behavior, I remembered how it felt to see those social media posts mocking my generosity. I remembered the loneliness of sitting by myself while my family enjoyed the vacation I had paid for. I remembered the realization that the people I loved most in the world saw me as a useful fool rather than a cherished family member. Those memories gave me the strength to maintain my boundaries even when it would have been easier to give in. The story of my family vacation has become something of a legend in our extended family and social circle. Friends and relatives often ask me for advice when they find themselves being taken advantage of by their own family members. I always tell them the same thing. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept from them. If you accept disrespect, you will get more disrespect. If you accept being taken for granted, you will continue to be taken for granted. But you also have to be prepared for the consequences of demanding better treatment. Some people will rise to meet your expectations. Others will choose to remove themselves from your life rather than change their behavior. Either outcome is better than continuing to accept treatment that diminishes your worth as a person. My story is not unique. There are countless older adults who find themselves being exploited financially or emotionally by their own family members. There are countless people of all ages who struggle with setting boundaries with loved ones who take advantage of their generosity. If you are one of those people, I want you to know that it is never too late to demand better treatment. It is never too late to recognize your own worth. It is never too late to stop being a victim and start being an advocate for yourself. It will not be easy. It may cost you some relationships. It will definitely require you to change some long-established patterns of behavior. But the alternative is to spend the rest of your life being used and undervalued by the very people who should treasure you most. You deserve better than that. You deserve to be loved and respected for who you are, not just for what you can provide to others. Take it from someone who learned this lesson the hard way. Standing up for yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. And sometimes, the most expensive lessons are the ones that teach us the most about ourselves and what we are truly worth. My family vacation cost me everything I had saved, but it gave me something priceless in return. The knowledge that I am valuable exactly as I am, and I never have to apologize for demanding to be treated that way. That knowledge has enriched every day of my life since then, and it will continue to guide me through whatever challenges the future may bring. Because now I know who I am, and more importantly, I know what I deserve. And that is worth more than any amount of money I could ever spend.